It's really a joy to be able to travel. This is about as far away from us as we could come, actually. But to feel the universality of what drives us, what challenges us, what we'd all like to achieve. So in each of the places that we've been in the 2 weeks that we've been here, it's just remarkable feeling. We traveled a long way, but we're really still sitting in exactly the same issues, the same human conditions and conundrums. And it wouldn't matter where we were right now. I mean, we've traveled enough to know that we're all up against what I'll say to begin with, some sense, some concept that we might actually be limited in our ability to perform, to feel, can we quit reacting to things? So we live in that. It's part of the human condition. And I think where I'd like to focus, I'll speak a little less than I've been speaking just because of time, and I want everybody to have these experiences are wonderful. And you'll hear it. You'll hear the energy exchange that's happening. It's beyond words. You do a few exercises and you feel uplifted. You actually feel better. As Simon said, in 2 minutes. None of this takes time. And in just a little bit, when I quit talking, you'll hear some music. And if you let the energy of the music in, you start tuning into something that's much deeper or different, but it is deeper, much more difficult for the mind to grasp. Then there's energy out there. I'm here, I'm having a rough day. I need to stop and I need to do these things to grab onto some of that energy. And what I'd like to be able to share, which makes it just the next degree complicated, is that we don't have to go anywhere. We are always, have within us, we are an infinite supply of energy. Now that is a very different thought than I'm here, things are hard, let me stop. That means work is hard. Going home to several kids then are hard. I noticed somebody mentioned that balance between work life and home life. And believe me, I mean, the only reason it matters to present any part of my CV or my life experience is because it gives me credibility with everybody. I worked really hard in medical school. I have a family. I actually do several other jobs. I've actually been out in the world much of my life, 12 to 14 to 16 hours a day, and yet still trying to live from that infinite supply of energy, that place of peace, of calmness, of what I'll call joy. The joy it's not a common word that's used, mostly I would say in the United States, but I probably could say it in Australia too. We talk about being happy or relaxed, very different than to be able to tune in and find a place of real joy. It's a more spiritual quality. So these are the kind of things that we want to aim for, not how can I stop and grab this, although this is so meaningful. Because to be honest, and as I keep saying, many times in my career, I would find myself ducking into a linen closet or a supply closet, wherever I could leave the environment. I was a hospitalist for about 15 years of my career. It meant, I don't know what that would mean here, but I had a big practice of medicine. And then every morning of my life was spent going into the hospital and making rounds on not just my patients, but maybe 8 other doctors' patients as well. It's still hard work. That's why I'm sharing. And you know that because you're all in the medical profession. Just like when you say to me, I work in a stoma care, I know what that means. I immediately can have a sense, a vision of all of what that means, the incredibly sensitive and difficult nature of the work that you do. And to be dealing with people who've had to go through that and their families, and we could talk about that a lot. It's just an example, or what you were speaking about wanting to express an opinion when you're working with a team. And guess what? We're all different human beings and we all have different opinions. These are common human experiences for people in medicine in really many parts, many jobs in the world. Stoma care is, of course, much more focused. But otherwise, the things that we're talking about, most people could relate to. Even if it's not their work, we can say, wow, it's hard doing research. It's hard focusing there. It's hard bringing that research maybe to clinical relevance and explaining it to the clinicians. All of what you're talking about, I feel like I've been there, but I could talk to everybody in this room and say, yeah, this is the nature of the human condition. It's hard. Doesn't matter what we're doing. So how are we going to create a change within ourselves so that whether we're at work, whether we're at home, whether we're at the beach playing, or whether we're approaching somebody for the first time with a new stoma, which means they've had a major surgery and have to, in some way, just to put it simply, that which is usually kept inside of us is suddenly now coming out. That whole body change, it's dramatic. That's why I'm using it as an example. But how can we go, or Caitlin's sitting here as a high school teacher, and she works in a school with a lot of diversity in terms of students. How does she go from all of that and stay calm and centered? And Dan said it very well, because every one of her students, every one of your patients, every one of your colleagues, they will feel everything that you bring into the room, A, whether you think you're hiding it well or not, and B, more scary in a way, even if you're not conscious of it. So we are trying to find ways of living that will help us open to that which is always with us, yet not so obvious. To tune into the fact that it's not energy, we are energy. We are it. It's not something else. It's not like this being is out here in this vast sea of energy. We are. That's the truth. But it's not like we have to get outside of ourselves to grasp it. Is what I'm saying making sense to everyone? It's a whole other next concept. So we use these techniques. They're not the end. They're not the goal. We use them as a way of helping us tune in constantly to the fact that within us lies an infinite ability, literally, to always be calm, always be peaceful. One of the affirmations that I say often, in fact, it's lived on my refrigerator literally for decades. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. That's a very powerful statement, particularly when it's said with belief, knowing. Even just keep saying it before you believe it, because words are energy. The word we were talking on the way over here about being in meetings or around friends who swear. Is that word? Wait, so you know what I'm talking about. And I have told my friends now for a long time, if you swear in front of me, I will not be able to be with you anymore. And I actually mean it, and they actually know it. When you hear one of those words, it instantly changes the energy. And I'll say to a friend of mine, for instance, who's a very successful lawyer, you are so much smarter than using that appalling language. That language makes you feel, to me, dark, stupid in a way, contracted. No, use your words that you've been learning all your life. Express yourself, not with expletives, but these are such common things. Simon mentioned music, I'm sorry. I do a lot of medicine in my life, but music. So we go into restaurants or walking down the street now, people just play their music, like as if everybody would want to listen to the music that they're listening to. Or I don't know what happens here, but in the US, if you lay on a beach, you can hear other people's music. And I want to say to them, that's what AirPods are made for now. I don't want to be in that energy. I really don't. I want to listen to my music, and I won't impose it on you, because the music I listen to has a very refined vibration. And if you're somebody who's very out in the world and pushing it tough, and I can't hardly even do it anymore. I don't have that much. If I do this, I look stupid, I know it. But if you're that, and I try and bring in some of this music that's refined, doesn't feel good to you. So we have to literally change our internal energetic pattern so that we can then, Dan said, when he said that, when you walk into a room, you change the energy in the room immediately. And to develop an awareness of that your pure energy, and I'm doing this because we can raise that energy and bring it up so that when we walk into a room, people feel calm, they feel seen, they feel cared about. When we voice an opinion, everybody might not agree, but often they will listen. And more important than that, even if they don't listen, even if they don't agree, even if they don't change their minds, you stay calm because you've practiced that knowing. It's not even a feeling. Yesterday, I think it was Caitlin who was leading some exercises, and she used an affirmation. She might use it with you again today. I don't know. I am calm. It's so simple. But I felt when I was listening to her, that's true. That's a big step. I am calm. What about if we say, believing, I am calmness? I am calmness. It's a very different thing that we're expressing. Now again, there's steps along the way, but there are tools and there are steps. And I just want to say out loud, let me just see what time it is. What time did we start today? 1, okay, great. I can speak for just a little more. This is a very important, I often say, and I feel, one of the most important concepts anybody will ever share with you, ever. No matter how much medicine you've learned, no matter how much nursing. I was a nurse for 14 years, as Simon said. I loved it. It was the most important part, it is, of my medical career, because I could bring all of the heart and soul of nursing into medicine, which is often a little devoid of it. When the physicists started telling us that everything in the universe, this is beyond mind, so it's very hard to understand this, but it's true, is energy, pure energy. And that everything, imagine this, everything is made out of the same exact energy, the same substrate. This is really, it's essential for happiness. It actually, and it's the only thing that matters. Because what are we doing when we're doing this and we're opening up to that energy and we're bringing it in and we're going down and we're letting go? Karen said it so beautifully, of all of that which we don't need to hold on to anymore. competition, anger, jealousy, greed, fear. We don't need that, but we come in with it, and everybody else has it, so it looks normal. But we're here today because we're looking for new ways to be. And if we understand, if we are willing to accept that everything is energy and it can be transformed, so hate actually can be transformed into love. The same energy that we would use to hate people, we can turn it around and use it to love people. The same energy that appears in us as fear, we can, and I've seen it done now, I mean, so many times. I can, and I usually do when I'm speaking, just use so many examples in this, what is now a really a long career. I started nursing school when I was 17, and I'm 76, and I've been with patients and clients and counseling people all those years. It's a lot of years. Things started happening that felt miraculous. I would have used the word, this is a miracle. How did that idea come to me? How did I suddenly know? I had I'm just going to share one story so that you know the kind of thing I'm talking about. I had, as Simon said, the third largest medical practice in the entire United States. That is a big practice. It's not because I was the smartest doctor. I'm not by far the smartest doctor. In fact, I use my colleagues a lot. Hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? It was really simply because people felt cared about, honestly. And they would go out and say to their friends, you know, I met this great doctor. It's the way medical practice is built, the number one way, word of mouth, like many things. What were they saying? And I'm going to be able to get myself back. I know I keep digressing. When Simon was introducing me, I wanted to say, there's a lot that could be said about these 76 years. It's amazing what's happened in them. But it's not me. It's not like I'm special. It's not like I'm so smart or so talented or psychic or anything. It's because I came to know, I just say to you through grace, at a rather young age, that everything's energy. And energy can always be transformed, that we're not stuck anywhere. Imagine if we can remember that every minute of our lives. Then no matter what's going on, we have within us always the ability to be at peace, calm, even uplifted, even in the face of extraordinary loss or upset with a team. Doesn't matter what it is. So my person who worked at my front desk came to me, said to me one day, this man wants to see you. He's not part of your practice, but he has a good friend who's part of your practice, and he has a cold. A cold. I had 25 patients I was seeing that day. That's a lot. I don't know if anybody knows that, but it's a lot. And I said, please tell him I can't see him. He probably doesn't even need to be seen for a cold, but I can't see him. She comes back 10, 15 minutes later. He is insisting on seeing you. I said, no, there's urgent care clinics for such things. Let him go somewhere else. I have 2 booked. Both of my partners were out of town at the time. She comes back, she says, this man is just not taking no for an answer. I said, all right, tell him this. Tell him he can come in. Tell him it's going to be a 5-minute visit. Tell him it's going to be a lousy exam. I'm not spending any time with him, but I'll look in his mouth and get some idea about his cold. So he comes in, I think 29 years old, perfectly healthy guy, and he has a cold. And something in me, an intuition, which is really what calmness is. When you get perfectly calm, you become more intuitive. Everybody, this is not me. You know, this is this sea of energy that we all are, says, listen to his heart. And my mind jumps in and says, You're not listening to his heart. You already told him this is a short visit. He's got a cold. I'm sitting there. Listen to his heart. This is just, and I'm fighting with myself. All right, I'll listen to his heart. Just like that. I put my stethoscope on his chest, and I hear what we would call a pathologic murmur. I knew instantly that this man was in trouble. Now, this is the kind of thing, so I'll just finish the story and not leave you hanging. I call up to the front desk, this man needs an echocardiogram today to listen to his heart. They call me back. Radiology says they can't do it. I say, tell them, because everybody knew me. I wasn't in the hospital, I was in my office, but they all knew me. No, tell them I said it must be done today. In fact, right now, because I knew I could hear this murmur was a bad murmur. So anyway, he goes over, he does an echocardiogram. The radiologist calls me and says to me, Shanti, he has a huge aneurysm right at that joint where the aorta joins the heart. I'll just say it for everybody who's not medical. So I was in Baltimore at the time. I called Johns Hopkins, ER, said I'm sending this guy down right away. He was in surgery, open heart surgery, the next morning, and had this, because I had said to him, how long have you known you have a heart murmur? He says to me, I don't have a murmur. I said, yes, you do. No, I don't. I said, listen, I got you in here. We have no time to fight about this. I mean, it's just, why I'm telling you this, the numbers of times that if I was only in my mind, I wouldn't have seen him, I wouldn't have listened, we wouldn't have gotten the echocardiogram, he wouldn't now be down at Johns Hopkins. They said they opened his chest and that aneurysm was absolutely ready to rupture. He'd had it all his life. Somehow it just, nobody had heard it for whatever reason. And that whole sequence of events, and he told me later, he became my patient, of course, but he told me later, he said, I knew you were fighting with me, but something in me kept saying, I have, if you want to be, okay, sure, you're welcome. If you want to be with me, he kept saying, I know I need to see her. He said something just drove me. And what that something is, see, it's just one story of many. These are coming out in a book as soon as I can change my work. Really, because they are such perfect examples of what life can be like. You just flow. Shanti, you need to see him. Listen to his heart. Oh, look at that. He would have been dead in days. It's not because, and the people at Hopkins called me, they said, how did you know this? And I say to them a phrase that I've said many times in my professional life, oh, you wouldn't believe it. Because how can I tell them? I sit and I meditate a lot, every day. I have for decades. Everybody doesn't have to meditate. Even these things, when you listen to this music that you're about to hear, and you feel the energy of it, and you say to yourself, what if what she's saying is true? What if I start listening to different music in my life? What if I do these simple little exercises? I am awake and ready. When you're exhausted, you don't stay exhausted when you say that. When you say, I am positive, energetic, those affirmations are energy. They change every cell in your body. This is real. This is quantum physics. Now, there are people we call yogis who have known this for ever, thousands and thousands of years. Science is catching up. Very good thing. It gives it credibility. But then we have to change our minds. We need to say, let me hear this. It's truth. I can change my life in whatever way I want to. Life doesn't change us. It's not like suddenly your world's going to be turned upside down, but you will move through your life differently. And I have to say, in some cases, your world gets turned upside down because you realize things you didn't know before. But mostly, it's just taking charge of ourselves. And taking charge is the most important, that's why I'm saying it's probably the most important concept any of us could ever hear. We take charge of our energy. There's no fear. There's no upset. Ultimately, it's not like you listen to one uplifted song and you change your life, but it's a practice. It's like, so why not practice that which is positive, uplifting, calming, centering, rather than practicing that which has us rushing, irritated, frightened. Oh, how most of us live. Really how most, even if we're great people doing great things, mostly life has a hold of us. But we can learn how to take charge of this energy that we are. And it is a dramatic thing. So what we're sharing with you, and I will in 1 minute now ask my friends to come up and share a song with you. And the words are beautiful. The words really talk about how to find this inner peace, the ways that we're hooked. You'll hear that if you're seeking freedom outside of yourself, you're going to be disappointed. Means kind of an energetic, emotional, spiritual freedom. You'll hear a few verses, 3 or 4. They're lovely words. Feel the energy of the music, even more than the words. See how much, this is a simple little fun, uplifting song, but let's see how it can change us. And then Caitlin can I sometimes call her a different name, so I had to come back to her, give it a name. How she can come up here and do, yet again, these simple little tools, changing the music that you're listening to, learning how to breathe, how to use breath. Simple, but they're life-changing. You don't have to sit. You can find an app on your phone about meditation. It's always mindfulness, because that's what, there are many, many forms of meditation, but mindfulness has imprinted itself on the world. And it's good. It's a very good thing for most of us. It's giant steps forward. But, you know, we do an exercise, a series of exercises. We call them energization exercises. Doesn't matter about them. But what's behind it, it says, tense with will, relax and feel. It's incredible. So just that. So when you do any of these exercises, you realize the whole point is to relax and feel. That's what it is. Until you're not just doing it once a day, but maybe twice a day or 4 times a day for 2 minutes. And then suddenly it just starts coalescing and it becomes who you are. So thank you for listening to that, and I'm going to ask.
There's joy in the heavens, a smile on the mountains, and melody sings everywhere. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. Leave home in the sunshine, dance through a meadow, or sit by a stream and just be. The lilt of the water will gather your worries and carry them down to the sea. The lilt of the water will gather your worries and carry them down to the sea. Men hunger for freedom, but don't see the dungeon is only the thought that they're bound. Desires are their shackles, the hope that tomorrow the doorway to joy will be found. Desires are their shackles, the hope that tomorrow the doorway to joy will be found. There's joy all around us, why wait till tomorrow? We've only this moment to live. A heaven within us is ours for the finding, a freedom no riches can give. A heaven within us is ours for the finding, a freedom no riches can give. There's joy in the heavens, a smile on the mountains, and melody sings everywhere. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air.